There's a thing people do with rental cars. You know it. You've done it. I've done it. You don't change the oil. You don't baby it over the speed bumps. You skip the car wash. You park it anywhere. Because it's not yours. You're giving it back. Whatever happens to it after you hand the keys over, that's somebody else's problem. I treated my body like a rental car for about 40 years. I ran it hard. I skipped the maintenance. I put bad fuel in it at 2 in the morning in airport terminals. I figured I'd give it back eventually, and whatever shape it was in by then, well, that was a problem for some future version of me, some other guy, not my problem. I had deals to close. Here's what nobody tells you. You don't get to give it back. There's no counter you walk up to. You drive that same body all the way to the end. It's the only one you get, and it turns out it was never a rental. It was the only car you were ever going to own. I figured that out late. Too late to undo some of it, early enough to change the rest. And that's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to walk you through 5 things I stopped doing once it finally sank in. Things I was proud of, some of them. Things I thought made me a serious man. And the last one is the one that took me 40 years to see, so stay with me to the end. That's the one that actually changes things. Let me back up, because if you don't know how I lived, this won't land. I was broke at 31, real broke. And out of that, I built something. I won't bore you with what. I connected things, people who needed things with people who had them. That's as far as I go. But I built it the only way I knew how, which was to throw my entire body at it, every hour, every meal eaten standing up or in a car, every red-eye flight, every dinner I skipped or drank instead of ate. I wore the hours like a badge. I was proud of it. The guy who could go harder than everyone, sleep less, push more. I thought that was strength. I thought the body was just the thing that carried the important part of me around. Barbara saw it differently. Barbara always sees it differently, and she's usually right, which took me about 30 years to admit. She'd say, "You treat that body like a rental you're about to return." And I'd laugh, because she was right and I didn't want to deal with it. My father was different, Elliot. He came over with nothing, built a modest life, and he treated his body like it was his. Walked every day, ate like a person, sitting down, slowly. Never had my money, never had my stress, and he outlasted every prediction anybody made about him. I used to think that was just luck. Now I think he knew something I spent my whole career too busy to learn. So here's what changed, and here's what I want to walk you through. The things I stopped doing once I finally understood the car was mine. The first thing I stopped doing was treating sleep like a weakness. For 40 years, I bragged about how little I slept. 4 hours, 5. I thought it made me a serious man. The deal got done because I was up while the other guy was sleeping. And maybe sometimes it did. But I was running a body on fumes for decades and calling it discipline. It wasn't discipline, it was damage. I just couldn't see the bill because it came due slowly, a little at a time. The blood pressure, the weight that crept on, the fog I thought was just getting older when really it was just being exhausted for 30 years straight. When I retired, the first gift, and I didn't even recognize it as a gift at first, was that I could finally sleep. And I fought it. I felt guilty sleeping, like I was getting away with something. Barbara had to tell me more than once that rest wasn't laziness, it was maintenance. You don't get a medal for running the engine till it seizes. So I stopped. I sleep now, 7, 8 hours. And I'll tell you, the man I am at 8 hours of sleep is a better husband, a better grandfather, and frankly, a smarter man than the one who ran on 4. There's a clarity that comes back. Decisions I used to agonize over for days, I see them clean now in about 10 minutes. And I'm convinced half of that is just that I'm rested for the first time since the Carter administration. I wish I could go back and tell the 40-year-old version that the sleep wasn't the thing standing between him and success. The sleep would have made him better at all of it. But he wouldn't have listened. He didn't listen to Barbara, and she's smarter than me. The second thing I stopped doing was eating like I was still in a hurry. When you're building something, food is fuel and nothing else. You eat to keep moving. Standing at a counter, in the car, whatever's fast. I ate some of the worst meals of my life in some of the nicest places because I wasn't tasting them. I was just refueling between calls. And the body keeps that score. It really does. You can't put garbage in a machine for 40 years and expect it to run clean. I didn't have a dramatic wake-up call. No heart attack, thank God. But I had a doctor look at my numbers around 64 and say very plainly, "Alan, you've been getting away with this. You're not going to keep getting away with it." That sentence stuck with me. You've been getting away with it. Like I'd been running a tab the whole time and didn't know it. And here's the thing about a tab. When you're broke, and I told you, dead broke at 31, you watch every dollar because you have to. You feel every expense. But when the money came, I stopped feeling the cost of things. I could afford to be careless. And somewhere in there, I started spending my health the same careless way I could finally afford to spend money. The difference is you can earn money back. I've done it. You earn it back from zero. I'm proof. You don't earn your 40s back. That account doesn't reopen. So now Barbara and I eat dinner, a real dinner, sitting down, at a table. It takes an hour and we talk and there's nowhere to rush off to. For most of my life, that would have felt like a waste of an hour I could have spent working. Now I understand it might be the most important hour of the day. I'm not eating to fuel a machine anymore. I'm eating like a man who plans to stick around. The third thing I stopped doing was outsourcing my health to other people. This one's particular to guys like me, I think. When you have resources, you start to believe you can buy your way out of anything. Got a problem? Pay an expert. Hire it out. That's how I ran the business. I didn't fix things myself. I found the person who could. And I tried to do that with my body. The best doctors, the supplements somebody swore by, the concierge this and the specialist that. I threw money at my health the way I threw money at every other problem, and I expected the same result. It doesn't work that way. You can buy the best doctor in the country, and he still can't take the walk for you. He can't sleep for you. He can't put the fork down for you. There is no version of rich where somebody else does the maintenance on your body. That's the one thing you cannot delegate. I tried. Trust me, I tried. You can't buy it. It's the one thing the money doesn't touch. That was humbling. I built a whole life on the idea that enough money solves the problem. And here was the most important problem I had, and the money just sat there, useless. Barbara found this very funny. She'd watched me learn the same lesson about a few other things over the years. My father again, Elliot. He never had a concierge anything. He had a pair of shoes and a habit of walking after dinner, and he did the maintenance himself because there was no money to hire it out. And he outlasted men who could have bought and sold him 10 times over. I used to think he just got lucky with his genes. Now I think he just never made the mistake I made. He never confused being able to afford help with being allowed to skip the part you have to do yourself. The fourth thing I stopped doing was treating exercise like it was beneath me. I want to be careful here because I'm not about to tell you I'm in a gym throwing weights around. I'm 68. My version of this is humble, and that's the point. For most of my life, I thought of physical movement as something other people did because they had time. People who weren't busy with important things. I was above it. I'd sit in a first-class seat or a back of a car and feel a little superior to the guy out jogging. He had time to jog. I had a business to run. What an idiot. I say that with love for the younger me, but what an idiot. Now I walk. That's it. That's the whole program. I walk every morning, the way my father did, the way Barbara's done for years. 45 minutes. Florida's good for it most of the year. And it does more for my head than it does for my body, honestly. The deals I used to chase gave me a buzz. The walk gives me something quieter and better. It gives me a clear morning. I didn't know I'd been missing that. You can't miss what you never had time to notice. And the fifth thing I stopped doing, this is the big one. I stopped thinking of my body as separate from me. That's the whole rental car mistake when you really look at it. A rental car is separate from you. It's a tool. You use it and you give it back. And for 40 years, that's exactly how I thought about this body. There was the real me, the mind, the drive, the guy making things happen. And then there was this vehicle that hauled the real me from meeting to meeting. But that's a lie. There is no real you riding around inside a vehicle. The body is you. When it's tired, you're tired. When it hurts, you hurt. When it's strong, you think more clearly and you're kinder to the people you love. They're not two things. They were never two things. I just needed them to be two things so I could justify neglecting one of them. The day that landed for me, really landed, I was on a plane. I've had a few realizations on planes. Long flight, nothing waiting on the other end, and I caught my reflection in that little oval window. And I looked older than I felt I should. Tired in a way sleep wasn't fixing. And I thought, I did this. Nobody did this to me. I drove this car into the ground myself, and I called it ambition the whole time. That wasn't a good feeling, but it was a useful one. The most useful thoughts usually aren't comfortable. So let me put it all together, because I've been going a while and Barbara will tell me if I ramble. I stopped treating sleep like weakness. I stopped eating like I was in a hurry. I stopped trying to outsource my health to people I paid. I stopped acting like movement was beneath me, and I stopped pretending my body was a separate thing I'd hand back someday. And here's the part I want you to really hear, especially if you're a few years from this, or just into it. None of this is about living forever. I'm not chasing some number. I'm not trying to be the oldest man in the room. I had a doctor. I had the resources. I could have gone the route of trying to optimize every last thing, and I'm not interested in that. That's just a different way of treating the body like a project instead of a home. It's about the opposite. It's about being present in the years I've actually got. Because here's the cruel joke of how I lived. I spent 40 years running my body into the ground to build a life, and then I finally got the life, the time, the grandkids, Barbara across the table, and I'd half-wrecked the only thing that could enjoy it. Barbara said something to me last year. She said, "You spent your whole life building something to leave the kids. Maybe the thing they actually want is just you around for a while longer." I didn't have an answer. I rarely do with her, but it reframed the whole thing. The greatest estate I could leave isn't in any account. It's being a grandfather who can still get down on the floor. Eli's 10, Maya's 7, argues with everyone. I have no idea where she gets it. I want to get down on the floor with those kids. I want to still be walking when they're grown. Not because I'm afraid of dying, because I'm finally not in a hurry to leave, and I'd like the vehicle to hold up for the good part. The part I spent my whole life building toward and almost wasn't in shape to enjoy. My father knew this without ever being able to put it in these words. He just lived in his body like it was his home, not his rental. He took care of it the way you take care of a house you intend to grow old in. I'm trying to learn that at 68. Late, but not too late, which is the only good news that matters. I'm not your guru on this. I want to be clear about that, the way I always am. I don't have a program to sell you. I have a track record of doing it wrong for 40 years and then getting a few things right at the end. That's the whole credential. Take from it what's useful and leave the rest. So if you've been treating yours like a rental, running it hard, skipping the maintenance, figuring it's somebody else's problem down the road, I just ask you to consider that there's no return counter. You're keeping this car. You might as well take care of it. Not for forever, just for the part that's left, which is the part that was always the point. If any of this landed for you, if you've spent your working years treating your body like a tool and you're feeling the bill come due, tell me. Leave a comment. I read those, and I think a lot of us, especially the ones who built something, share this exact blind spot. You're not alone in it. I wasn't either. If it was worth your time, a like helps the right people find it. The ones who need to hear it from somebody who got it wrong for a long time, not from some 25-year-old with a perfect diet. Barbara and I have talked about doing more on this. The real version, not the magazine version. Subscribe if you want to come along for that. That's what I've got today. Take care of the only one you get.